Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. Folks, this week feels like the planet got dropped on its head, bounced twice, and landed in a government filing cabinet that somebody forgot to lock. Every direction you turn, there is a war getting bigger, a bureaucracy getting dumber, and some rich person on television acting like all of this is totally normal if you just squint hard enough and maybe pay $12 for eggs. We are living in a time where rockets are going to the moon, bombs are going to Iran, tornadoes are going to the Midwest, and common sense is apparently going absolutely nowhere. So let's gather around this smoldering barrel fire of current events and talk through the madness before somebody in Washington tries to fix inflation by yelling at a map. Segment 1: War Room Karaoke and the Fired General. The White House is out here telling folks Operation Epic Fury is going so smooth it ought to come with a hotel mint on the pillow. But then the Pentagon turns around and fires the Army Chief of Staff right in the middle of the mess. That is like a fella standing in front of his trailer hollerin' that the barbecue is under control while his cousin is actively throwing the grill into the pond. If you are winning bigger than ever before, why are you suddenly removing the people running the war like you are rebooting a Wi-Fi router that caught fire? That does not feel like confidence. That feels like somebody backstage whispering, "Do not let the audience see the smoke." And beneath all the chest thumping, that is the grounded part nobody can ignore, because countries do not reshuffle top brass during a hot war unless something deep in the engine is rattling. Then you get the extra layer of crazy, where Trump is out there giving primetime victory language while members of his own loyalist crowd are looking at this Iran mess like a raccoon staring at a leaf blower. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene is breaking ranks and saying this thing looks unprovoked, which is political weather so strange it ought to come with a tornado siren. The administration wants to sell this like a clean action movie where the hero never sweats, but the plot keeps revealing itself like a dollar store zipper on a church suit. One minute they say flawless dominance, next minute jets are getting shot down and generals are getting escorted out like middle managers after a bad quarter at Sears. That is not a stable war strategy. That is karaoke leadership, loud confidence up front, and panic in the back room when somebody realizes they forgot the words. Segment 2: Bombs abroad, paperwork at home. While all this military chaos is popping off overseas, the same administration is somehow also trying to build a giant national citizenship database for voting verification ahead of the midterms. Now that is ambitious in the same way a man with 3 flat tires announcing he is entering NASCAR is ambitious. They cannot keep Homeland Security from tying itself into a bureaucratic knot, but we are supposed to believe they can rapidly create a flawless, centralized database of every citizen in America without it turning into the DMV with surveillance features. You know good and well that thing is going to be held together with expired software, confusing spellings, and one overworked contractor named Brad eating crackers over a keyboard. The grounded truth under the joke is simple. When government systems move too fast and pretend data is cleaner than real life, regular people get trapped in the gears. And speaking of Homeland Security, they had to bring in Markwayne Mullin, who sounds less like the head of a massive federal agency and more like a guy you call when your water heater starts screaming in Cherokee and leaking under the washing machine. This man comes in after Kristi Noem had the department locked down with a spending approval policy so ridiculous FEMA basically needed a royal blessing to buy a stapler. That is not management. That is cosplay monarchy with office supplies. Mullen's first big move was basically saying maybe we should let adults sign forms again, which somehow counts as reform in modern Washington. We have reached a stage of American governance where the heroic act is not visionary leadership. It is removing one dumb rule so the building can resume breathing. Segment 3. The Strait of Hormuz and the Price of Everything. Now let us mosey over to the oil market, where one presidential social media rant can apparently make half the planet clutch its gas receipts like church programs in a windstorm. Trump jumps online, starts cussing about reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and suddenly oil prices shoot up so hard the global economy gets whiplash. That strait is basically the jugular vein of world energy, and we are handling it with the emotional discipline of a man losing at fantasy football. Somewhere in Bangladesh, folks are cutting lights and office hours because a powerful idiot decided diplomacy should sound like an uncle screaming at a broken tiller. It is a pretty amazing system we built, where a late-night phone tantrum in Washington can make another country turn off the mall lights before supper. The IMF then comes in with the economic version of "bless your heart" and says, yes, America is still growing, but your own policies are helping keep prices high. Well, there is your problem right there, Chief. This administration wants to claim tariffs are patriotic muscle, while also wondering why groceries still feel like luxury goods. That is like wearing steel-toed boots to bed and then being confused why you wake up sore. The report also points out that lower immigration is squeezing the labor market. So the same folks bragging about border crackdowns are also quietly helping businesses run short on workers while consumers pay more for stuff. It is the economic equivalent of sawing off your own porch and then acting shocked when the rocking chair hits the dirt. Segment 4. Moonshot on April Fools and the Internet Brain Rot. In the middle of all this, humanity did something legitimately incredible, and the Internet reacted like a sleepy dog hearing fireworks 3 counties away. Artemis 2 launched people toward the moon for the first time in more than 50 years, and a big chunk of the public saw the date April 1st and decided it had to be fake. Think about that for a second. We put astronauts on a path around the moon, a genuine civilization-level flex, and the public response was basically, "Nice try, brand account." We have reached a point where human achievement has to fight through algorithmic sarcasm like a tractor trying to pull a piano through mud. The grounded sadness under the joke is that people are now so conditioned by gimmicks, hoaxes, and engagement bait that reality itself has started failing the vibe check. And at the same time, the tech world is celebrating open-source AI as the future. Another company gets walloped because the open-source supply chain got compromised by hackers. So on one hand, these firms are saying, look at this miracle. Now your computer can think in 140 languages. On the other hand, they are getting extorted because some volunteer-maintained code package got poisoned like potato salad at a family reunion left out too long. That is the whole era in one snapshot. We are racing to automate everything, from recruiting to coding to management, but we still cannot secure the digital extension cord all of it is plugged into. America in 2026 is basically giving a robot a promotion while the server room door is hanging open and a guy in a hoodie is hauling out copper wire. Segment 5. Tornadoes, court rulings, and rich people holding golf hostages. Back here on the ground, tornadoes are ripping across the Midwest and Northeast. Hail is stacking up like God emptied a freezer chest on the interstate. And meteorologists are having to explain that yes, science got better at spotting storms, but also no, that does not mean your barn feels less destroyed. Rural folks know the difference between a breeze and the Lord slapping sheet metal off the shed. So when experts say some of this is improved detection, that may be true, but it still lands a little funny when people are picking insulation out of a tree and being told the data is simply more accurate now. That is like a doctor handing you an X-ray and saying good news. We are much better at identifying how bad your leg got broke. Useful information, sure, but not exactly comfort food. While all that is happening, the Supreme Court is quietly dropping major rulings under the cover of global panic, like a possum sneaking through an airport gift shop. And yes, I said possum, because one literally blended in with plush toys at an airport this week, which frankly might be the smartest security strategy anybody has demonstrated all month. The court is reshaping questions about speech, therapy bans, copyright liability, and federal power, while cable news is busy staring at missiles and oil prices. Then over in sports, Tiger Woods has the entire Masters rumor mill standing around like farmhands, waiting to see if rain is really coming, or if Grandpa's knee is just acting up again. The man is 50, busted up, still maybe playing, still refusing retirement, and somehow still able to hold the whole sport hostage by existing near a tea time. That is elite American branding right there, where uncertainty itself becomes a product. Segment 6. Weird news from the cracked sidewalk of civilization. And if all that still was not enough evidence we are living inside a gas station fever dream, a crypto platform got hit for hundreds of millions on April Fool's Day, and nobody reacted fast because they assumed it was a joke. That is poetry, in the worst possible way. The hackers did not just exploit code, they exploited the fact that everybody online is exhausted, ironic, and spiritually allergic to sincerity. On the exact same day companies were posting fake nonsense and people were rolling their eyes at every announcement, somebody walked off with a mountain of money because the public had become too culturally dehydrated to recognize a real emergency. We used to worry about firewalls. Now the vulnerability is mass sarcasm. Then you got a 75-year-old South African politician putting on a wetsuit and snorkeling in a giant pothole to shame the city into fixing it, which is both deranged and more effective than most modern campaign platforms. Honestly, I respect it. Over here, we get leaders standing behind podiums saying infrastructure is a priority, and over there, Grandma is dog paddling through sewage runoff like Jacques Cousteau for municipal accountability. That is where we are now. The weirdest person in the story is often the only one actually responding to reality. And maybe that is the lesson of this whole week. The systems are creaking. The powerful are improvising. The public is exhausted. And sometimes the only honest response left is to put on a snorkel, stare into the pothole, and admit the road really is gone. In conclusion, this week did not feel like a normal collection of headlines. It felt like the world pulled 6 different fire alarms at once, and then asked us to remain calm because one rocket launch went well. We have a government fighting wars abroad while tripping over paperwork at home, an economy growing and hurting at the same time, a public too cynical to trust the moon, and a news cycle so broken that irony has become a national security issue. That is not just chaos. That is premium-grade, top-shelf dysfunction with a patriotic label slapped on the side. So keep your eyes open, keep your wallet close, and if a politician in a wetsuit starts making more sense than the cabinet, do not be surprised. At this point, that may be the most reassuring thing we have got.